Hello. Dear students, good evening. We welcome all of you for this webinar, and we have with us the eminent speaker, CA Ashna Gajlaji, and moderator, CA Pawan Gargji. Moderator sir will be introducing you with the speaker, chairman, and vice chairman sir. Please over to moderator sir.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Pawan Garg from Balotra CP chapter. Now, I like to introduce our own CA, Dr. Rohit Ruvatia, Chairman of Board of Studies Operations, ICAI 2025-26. CA, CA Dr. Rohit Ruvatia is an iconic Central Council member of ICAI and currently serving as Chairman of the Board of Studies Operations. Renowned for his visionary leadership, he holds the distinction of being one of the youngest ever managing committee member, regional council member, and central council member of ICI's history. He has contributed for major initiatives for inclusion of ICI's name in Guinness World Record for the largest career counseling session. Lead impactful program like Practice Ki Pathshala and the residential training for new COP holders. As chairman, he continues to shape policy and method of practice for CA profession and aspiring student respectively. Dedicated to student empowerment, he is committed the modernizing CA education through digital platform, innovative learning methods, and industry-related trainings, making him a key force in redefining the future of the CA profession. Now, I am introducing CA Sanjeev Gandhi, Vice Chairman, Board of Studies Operations ICI 2025-26. CA Sanjeev Gandhi, a
Sangeet.
seasoned chartered accountant.
Sangeet.
Sanjeev Gandhi, CA Sanjeev Gandhi.
Sanjeev Sangeet. Okay, go ahead.
A seasoned chartered accountant with over 26 years of experience. Currently serving as the Vice Chairman of the Board of Studies Operations ICI as its Central Council member, he is widely respected for his leadership in digital transformation, capacity building, and professional development. As a capable chartered accountant, he leads impactful initiatives like UDAN and the Voice of Diamonds. He has actively contributed to various ICI committees and held key positions in professional and social organizations. Known for his visionary approach, he is committed to empowering young professionals, enhancing auditor ethics, and strengthening ICI's global presence through innovation and inclusive growth. Now, I want to Now we come to our today's session of the Run at the Rate 100 webinar series. Reskill, Upskill, or New Skill. An initiative by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India Board of Studies operations to celebrate excellence, ignites insight, and empower the next generation of finance professionals. Today's session is an exciting one and a truly essential skill in the modern financial world. Topic is upholding confidentiality and trust. Key takeaways are: 1. Avoid conflict of interest. 2. Digital confidentiality is crucial. Third is legal and professional boundaries matter. Fourth is trust is earned, not demanded. And fifth, confidentiality is not negotiable. To lead us into the artful territory, we are privileged to have with us a distinguished speaker, CA Ashna Kajla. Now I am introducing the speaker, CA Asna Kajla. She is a practicing chartered accountant and woman entrepreneur based in Patiala, Punjab. With over 10 years of professional experience, she specializes in financial audits, direct and indirect taxation, bookkeeping, and concurrent audits of banks and financial institutions. She is the founder of Kajla and Associates and has also served as a faculty member at ICAI and Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Her expertise extends to statutory compliances, including RERA, FEMA, FSSAI, and PSDT. She is known for staying updated with dynamic laws and technological advancements while maintaining client centric services. Let's give a warm welcome to CA Asna Kalja. Now I uh, call to CA Asna Kalja to give you.
Thank you so much, Pavan sir, for your kind words. A very good evening to all of you. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Board of Studies ICAI under the leadership of Mr. Rohit, Chairman, and Mr. Sanjeev Sanghi, Vice Chairman, for giving me this opportunity to deliberate on the topic upholding confidentiality and trust. From the series run at the rate 100, Reskill, Upskill, New Skill, I would like to congratulate the board for the successful conduct of this series of webinars. ICI has always nurtured CA students to adapt to dynamic business environment. The institute has always trained CA students to become sincere professionals. The value of objectivity, integrity, trust, unbiasedness are inculcated at a very young age on the outset of educational journey of an aspiring chartered accountant. Our worthy president of the ICI, Mr. Charanjot Singh Nanda, has quoted, "Our profession is built on the bedrocks of trust, precision, and accountability." These are the qualities that have positioned chartered accountants as partners in India's growth story. Our worthy Vice President of the ICI, CA Prasanna Kumar D, has quoted, "Members and students, when ethics lead the way and trust is our foundation, progress becomes an inevitable path, building a future of integrity and excellence." Now, I would like to share my PPT with all of you. Sir, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first we will discuss what is confidentiality. तो हम सबको पता है confidentiality in common parlance means keeping something private or secret. However, we would talk in terms of confidentiality from the perspective of chartered accountants. So confidentiality is based on four domains. First is the code of ethics. Under the ICAI's revised code of ethics, confidentiality is a fundamental principle that prohibits members from disclosing any confidential information without proper authority unless there is a legal or professional right or duty to disclose. The code mandates safeguarding client trust even after the professional relationship ends. Audit of bank is the second domain. The guidance note on the Audit of Banks 2025 edition stresses that public confidence and trust in the banking system are underpinned by the quality audits and sound financial reporting. Statutory auditors play a critical role in maintaining the trust through professional integrity, ensuring financial transparency, and adherence to ethical practices. Outsourcing regulations. RBI and ICI guided frameworks or outsourcing highlight the importance of maintaining confidentiality, including stipulations and agreements to uphold customer data security and safeguard trust even post contract termination. So, here I would like to emphasize that even after our professional relationship has ended with the customer, still we are required to maintain the confidentiality of the information, which cannot be disclosed without the proper authorization of the client. So, there could be a disclosure and confidentiality conflict. ICAI has clarified in its guidance that if the disclosure of certain information conflicts with statutory confidential obligations, example customer data secrecy, then non-disclosure is permitted and it will not be treated as breach of standard. So this is extremely important to note that in case any information is required by any statute. However, that information is very confidential and secret. Then also ICAI permits that we can opt to not to disclose that information. So let us understand this with the help of an example. For example, a CA is conducting an internal audit of a company that holds proprietary government contracts. During the audit, the CA discovers that there is certain sensitive data which is related to the national defense projects. A third party, such as an investor or an external auditor, requests access to this data for verification purposes. In this situation, the CA cannot disclose the information, as doing this would violate the statutory confidentiality under the laws related to the national security or classified information. According to the ICS Code of Ethics, non-disclosure is justified and will not be considered as a breach since it complies with the legal obligations and upholds the fundamental ethical principles of confidentiality. So this is extremely important to note that all the information has to come through the client. We should not disclose any client information which is not available on the public platform to the statute. For example, if income tax department asks for certain ledgers of the client, then it has to come through the clients. There should be proper attestation of the client, and those ledgers should be properly verified by them. And then we should also have a wakalatnama or a proper authorization letter that we are representing the client on their behalf. So this is a very important aspect that we as CA students should ensure in our articleship or further in our practice that confidentiality is the building stone of our profession and there should be no compromise on it. So now let us understand what is the difference between confidentiality and trust. So confidentiality is based on professional and ethical obligation. So confidentiality is a mandatory characteristic that a CA should possess, and it is required by the ICAI. And whereas trust is a personal or a relational belief. So confidentiality is legal and regulatory, whereas trust is informal and subjective. Confidentiality is interested by the ICAI disciplinary mechanisms and legal actions, whereas trust is not enforceable. Disclosure is allowed only with legal and professional requirement or explicit consent, whereas the trust cannot override the confidential obligations. So this is the difference between confidentiality and trust. In common parlance, we usually say that trust is a belief. As CAs, we should maintain the trust of our clients, but confidentiality is one step ahead of trust because it is enforced by the legal and regulatory framework. And in case we do not abide by confidentiality, then there are ICAI disciplinary mechanisms or legal actions which could be taken against the CA. So this is one thing that we should take care of, that first comes the trust, then comes confidentiality. Now, to maintain confidentiality of information or data, especially in professional and regulated environment, such as those involving ICAI or RBI compliance, the following general steps should be adopted. First is data access controls. So role-based access should be given. Ensure that only authorized persons can access to a specific data. For example, if a person who is not authorized and he has been given an access, he or she can alter the data and we would not know who has altered the data. So therefore, there should always be a role-based access. Then there should be authentication mechanisms. We should use strong passwords, two-factor authentication, and biometric access wherever feasible. So this will ensure that only the authorized person has got access to the data. Then we should always follow the concept of least privilege principle, that is grant minimum required access for job responsibilities. So therefore you should not be very liberal with when you have to give the data to the articles, or whenever you have to give the data for some processing. You should only give the information that is required. For example, in case you have been asked to prepare uh, balance sheet. So in that particular case, we need not disclose the selling price at which we have sold the products. We need not disclose the average selling price of each product because it is not required by the statute. So therefore, we should give only the information which is required to fulfill that job responsibility. Second is data encryption. Encrypt data at rest and data in transit. So data being transmitted. So whenever there is a data which is stored, we should always keep it in the encrypted form so that it is not misused. We can use industry standard encryption algorithms like AES 256 for sensitive data. Then we can also adopt secure storage and transmission. We should always use secure protocols, example HTTPS, SFTP, or VPN, that is virtual private network, for the data transfer. Store data in secure access control servers or encrypted cloud platforms. So the data should never kept unattended in a form where it is not encrypted. It should always be kept in an encrypted form and in a platform which is also encrypted. So the medium where the data is stored should also be encrypted, and the data which is stored should also be encrypted. Policies and procedures. Implement data classification policies to identify and label sensitive data. Establish clear handling and retention policies. Regularly train employees on data privacy and security protocols. So there should be always data classification policy, which data is highly confidential, which data is not confidential. For example, the public documents which are available on public platform or on MCA portal, they are not considered as very sensitive information because they are available publicly. However, a balance sheet which has not been signed, a listed balance sheet of a listed company which has not been signed, the report has not been released. So that information, till it becomes public, is very sensitive because it has the capability to affect a lot of stakeholders' decisions. So therefore, that information, till it becomes public, is a very sensitive information. So it will be categorized as highly sensitive, and therefore data classification policies should be there to identify and label the sensitive data. Establish clear handling retention policies. So there should be very clear data handling and retention policy, like what data are we going to retain for which period of time and who is going to handle which data. We should regularly train employees on data privacy and security protocols. Then there should be regular monitoring and auditing. We should conduct regular audit and review of data access logs, use intrusion detection and prevention systems. So therefore, there should be regular audit of the data access logs, even though if we have created role-based access, but we have never verified who has access to which type of data. Therefore, we would not know whether the role-based access has been compromised or not. So therefore, reviewing that role-based access data is also equally important. Monitor for unauthorized access or data leaks. Then data masking and anonymization. Mask or anonymize personal or sensitive data in non-production environment. apply data minimization principles, that is, collect only what is necessary. Now, many of us have a habit that whenever a new client comes to us, we always obtain their Aadhaar card, their PAN card for the purpose of KYC. Now, it is extremely important that we redact the Aadhaar card of the person and then store it in our database. Or in case we have conducted the assignment, then we delete that information because we should not keep any data which is very sensitive, and if it is leaked, would harm the client. So, secure disposal of data. Use secure methods like data wiping or physical destruction when disposing of storage media. Follow legal and regulatory requirement for data retention and disposal. Now we all know that according to the income tax and according to the auditing standards also, we are required to retain data for 7 to 8 years. So in case we know that we have a client since 20 years back and we don't need the information of 11 years back data, so then we should physically destroy the data, and or we can wipe the data, we can delete that data. If that data is not required by us, then we should not keep that data. Compliance and legal adherence ensure alignment with laws like Information Technology Act 2000, GDPR, and RBI ICAI guidelines for data protection. Include confidentiality clauses in contracts and non-disclosure agreements with third parties. Implementing these steps will help protect data from unauthorized disclosure, thereby ensuring confidentiality, a critical component of the CR tried, that is confidentiality, integrity, availability, and information security. The goal is to ensure that sensitive information is only accessed by authorized individuals, that is confidentiality. Data remains accurate and unaltered, that is integrity, and information is accessible only when it is needed, that is availability. So these are the three foundation stones of the information security, that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Now, let us look at one of the aspects, the key takeaway that we have from this session. First is the avoiding the conflict of interest. So I have made an acronym for this, that is PIMDSR. The points are as follows. Prohibition on compromise. A professional accountant shall not allow a conflict of interest to compromise professional or a business judgment. Identification of conflicts. Accountants must take reasonable steps to identify situations that might create a conflict, including assessing relevant relationship and implications for the involved parties. Monitoring changes. Professionals should stay alert to the changes in relationships or activities over the time that may introduce conflicts. Disclosure and consent. It is generally necessary to disclose the nature of conflict and the safeguards applied to all the relevant practices and to obtain their consent before proceeding. Safeguards. Safeguards to address such threats, including using separate engagement terms, implementing confidentiality protocols, having an independent reviewer assess the work, and possibly withdrawing from the engagement if the conflict cannot be adequately addressed. Sixth point is documentation. Accountants are encouraged to document the nature of conflict, the safeguards applied, and the consent obtained, especially if not in writing. Refusal or withdrawal. If the consent is not given or threats cannot be mitigated, the accountant must either decline the engagement or terminate the conflicting relationship. So here you can also see in the red that I have described this in the form of flowchart. First is we have to identify the potential conflict. Second, we have to take reasonable steps to identify the situations creating conflict. You have to assess the relationship and implications for the involved parties. Then you have to monitor changes in relationship or activities over time. If the conflict of interest is not identified, then you can proceed normally with your audit engagement. But if there is a conflict of interest, then you have to disclose the nature of conflict and the safeguard to all the relevant parties. You have to obtain the consent to proceed. Can the consent be obtained and are safeguards sufficient? If yes, then apply appropriate safeguards and continue with your audit engagement. If no, then decline the engagement or terminate the conflicting relationship. So there should be separate teams, confidentiality, protocols, independent review, others if needed, for example, document conflict, safeguard, consent, proceed with engagement or end. For example, a CA has been appointed as an auditor of a listed company. Has not been appointed, but he is in the process of being appointed as an auditor of a listed company. Now that CA also holds the shares of that listed company, meaning thereby that he has a conflict of interest. That is, either he can be an independent reviewer and also he has a financial interest in that entity because of his holding of the shares. Now, what he can do is that either he can deny the engagement. Now, here the conflict of interest is identified. Yes, the conflict of interest is there. So, first you have to disclose the nature of conflict and you have to identify the relevant safeguard to the relevant parties. Now, um, in this particular case, you cannot apply the safeguards because whenever I feel that I will be the first getting of the information of the because of the audit engagement, so therefore I might use that information for my financial benefit. So in this particular case, I cannot apply the safeguard. So either I can decline the engagement, the CA can decline the engagement, or he can terminate the conflicting relationship. That means before accepting the audit engagement only, he can dispose of the shares of the listed company that he's holding. So in this particular case, he has terminated the conflicting relationship, that is the financial interest that he was holding in that particular company. Or if I wish that the CA does not want to dispose of the holding of the shares, then he can decline the audit engagement. So first of all, as an audit engagement, see, audit means an independent review. So there should never be a conflict of interest. If there is a conflict of interest, that means you won't be able to give 100% or 100% correct results or 100% independent review. So first, whenever there is an audit engagement which has to be accepted, you have to first identify, is there any conflict of interest? If there is no conflict of interest, then there is no steps to be taken further. You can just accept the audit engagement. However, if there is a conflict of interest, then you need to disclose the nature of conflict and safeguard to all the relevant parties. If you have obtained the consent to proceed, are the safeguards sufficient? If yes, then you can apply those appropriate safeguards, which maybe there could be separate teams, there could be confidentiality protocols, there could be an independent review, there could be document conflict, safeguard consent. You can proceed with engagement. However, in case the consent cannot be obtained or the safeguards are not sufficient, then in that case, you have two options. Either you will decline the engagement or you will terminate the conflicting relationship. So this is one very important aspect of confidentiality, that we need to avoid the conflict of interest. Now let us move on to the next slide, which is also the second key takeaway of the session, that is maintaining digital confidentiality. So these provisions ensure professional integrity and objectivity are maintained at all the times. To maintain digital confidentiality, which is in line with ICAI's ethical standards, chartered accountants must implement both technical measures and professional safeguards. So here is a structured approach. First is data protection protocols. Encryption of data in transit and at rest, example using SSL or AES 256. So I've used this word before also, SSL and S256. So what is SSL? SSL is Secure Socket Layers, which is a security protocol that encrypts data transmitted over the internet, ensuring privacy and security for online communication. While SSL is an older term, it has been largely replaced by TLS, that is Transport Layer Security, though SSL is still commonly used. Websites using SSL or TLS have HTTPS in their URL instead of HTTP, indicating a secure connection. So, whenever you visit a website, always make sure that in the URL address, if you're giving some sensitive information, the URL address should always have HTTPS. If it only has HTTP, that means that website is not secure, and putting confidential information could put you at a risk where the information could be leaked and misused. AE256 is a commonly referred to 256-bit advanced encryption standard encryption, a highly secure method which is used to protect the sensitive data. It's a symmetric encryption algorithm, meaning the same key is used for both encrypting and decrypting the data. AES 256 is widely adopted by governments, businesses, and financial institutions for its robust security. Then you should always use secure servers and cloud platforms compliant with data privacy laws, example ISO 2701 or GDPR. So what is GDPR? GDPR is the General Data Protection Regulation, which aims to protect the privacy and personal data of individuals within European Union. It establishes a comprehensive framework for how organizations collect, process, store, and transfer personal data. The GDPR also grants individuals greater control over their personal data and rights regarding its use. ISO 27001 is an internationally recognized standard for establishing, implementing, maintaining, and continually improving an information security management system. It provides a framework of policies and procedures to help organizations manage information security risk, protect sensitive data, and ensure business continuity. Now, let me share with you an example where, due to the non-usage of the encrypted cloud platform, a lot of information could have been leaked. So, this is an example. In January 2019, State Bank of India exposed customer data, including mobile numbers, partial account numbers, because they had redacted the account numbers, balances, and transaction details from an unprotected server in its Mumbai data center. The server hosted SBI's SBI Quick Service, a text and call based system to provide inquiry customers with updates on account balances, recent transactions, and credit information. The server was not password protected and allowed the retrieval of customer specific messages through the backend text messaging system. The outgoing messages from the system were available in real time, along with over 2 months of daily archives exposing financial details of millions of customers. Though SBI resolved the issue after the initial investigation by TechCrunch, the bank dismissed the report saying that customer data and financial records remain secure. So, this is the importance of data protection protocols in secure communication. Now, let us move to the second point, which is secure communication. So, we should always use secure communication. We should always use encrypted email services or secure portals for client communication. Avoid sharing sensitive data over unsecured channels, example, open Wi-Fi or messaging apps. Many times we go to a restaurant or we go to a theater or we go to any office space where we ask for the public Wi-Fi password. So we should never put any confidential information over these unsecured channels because there are chances that this information could be leaked and could be misused. Many times at airports, we usually look for open Wi-Fi systems. So this is one thing that we should be very cautious of, that you should always use your own internet connection. You should always use encrypted email services, secure portals for client information. Many times Google gives us, whenever it takes us to a new page, it says that there is a risk, on going to that page. So um, if you are not very sure about that page, so refrain from going to that particular page, because there are chances that data might be breached and some confidential information may be leaked. Third is access controls. Implement role-based access to client information. Use multi-factor authentication for all critical systems. So what is multi-factor authentication? Multi-factor authentication requires two factors, that is, something you know, like a password, PIN, or an answer to a security question. Something you have, like a smartphone, security token, or a smart card. Something you are, like a fingerprint, facial recognition, or iris scan, or biometrics. Confidentiality policies. Have documented confidentiality agreements with staff and contractors. Conduct regular training on digital ethics and data handling. Fifth is regular monitoring and audits. Maintain audit trails of data access and changes. Perform periodic cybersecurity assessments to identify vulnerabilities. Periodic cyber security assessments are crucial for organizations to proactively identify and address vulnerabilities in their systems and processes. These assessments help determine the effectiveness of security control and ensure compliance with regulations. Regular evaluation help organizations stay ahead of evolving threats, protect sensitive data, and maintain a strong security posture. So, what are the key aspects of periodic cybersecurity assessment? First is vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. These tests identify the weaknesses in the system and applications, simulating real world attacks to assess their potential impact. Risk assessment. This process evaluates the likelihood and the potential impact of various cyber threats, helping prioritize remediation efforts. Policy and procedure review. Cybersecurity assessments examine existing policies and procedures to ensure that they are up to date, comprehensive, and effectively implemented. Compliance checks. Assessments verify adherence to relevant regulations and industry standards. Incident response plan. Assessments help organizations to develop and test incident response plan, ensuring a coordinated and effective response to security breaches. Security awareness training. Assessments may identify gaps in the employee knowledge and recommend targeted training programs to mitigate human related vulnerabilities. Technology review. Periodic assessments evaluate the security of hardware, software, and network configurations, ensuring that they align with the best practices. Managing breaches. Having a data breach response plan, including reporting, mitigation, and client communication. Notify the ICAI or legal authorities if there is any breach which involves professional misconduct. Now, let us look at the next slide, which is ethical guidelines for digital data. So, first of all, we should do the staff and the intern training. We should train all the employees, articles, and interns on data privacy, ICAI's ethical obligations, and cybersecurity hygiene. So, what is cybersecurity hygiene? Cyber hygiene refers to the fundamental cybersecurity practices that individuals and organizations should follow to protect their digital assets. It encompasses a set of routines and habits which are aimed at maintaining the health and security of computer systems, network, and data, similar to how personal hygiene practices maintain physical well-being. So, why is cyber hygiene important? First of all, it reduces the risk. Good cyber hygiene practice significantly reduce the likelihood of falling victim to cyber attacks, data breaches, and other security incidents. Protect sensitive information. It helps safeguard personal and organizational data from unauthorized access, theft, or misuse. Maintain system health. Regularly updates strong passwords and other hygiene practices keep systems running smoothly and efficiently. Prevent financial losses. Cyber can result in significant financial losses due to fines, recovery, costs, and lost businesses. Preserves reputation. Data breach can severely damage a management's reputation and erode public trust. Key cyber hygiene practices are strong passwords, use unique complex passwords for each account and consider using a password manager. Two-factor authentication enable 2FA wherever available to add an extra layer of security. Software updates keep all the software, including operating systems and applications, updated with the latest security patches. Be wary of phishing. Be cautious of suspicious emails, links, and attachments, especially those requesting personal information. Secure your devices. Protect all devices, including laptops, smartphones, and tablets, with strong passwords and security software. Backup your data regularly. Backup your data to an external drive or cloud storage. Use antivirus and anti-malware. Install and regularly update antivirus and anti-malware software. Monitor account activity. Regularly review account activity for any suspicious or unauthorized access. Limit personal information. Be mindful of the information which is shared online and avoid oversharing personal details. Use encryption. Encrypt sensitive files and communication to protect them from unauthorized access. Network security. Utilize firewalls and other security measures to protect your network from unauthorized access. Educate yourself. Stay informed about the latest cyber threats and best practices for staying safe online. Security awareness training. Provide regular cybersecurity training for employees to raise awareness and promote safe online habits. Incident response plan. Develop and regularly test an incident response plan to handle security breaches effectively. Sign confidentiality agreements and include digital confidentiality clauses. So now let us move to the next point, that is policy and compliance. So follow the ICAI Code of Ethics and Standards on Quality Control SQC1, which requires protecting client information digitally. So I would like to give a brief information about SQC1 over here. So SQC1 is Standards on Quality Control for firms that perform audit and review of historical financial information and other assurance and related service engagements. It is issued by the ICAI and it is applicable to all the forms of CA providing assurance services. So the objective of SQC1 is to establish and maintain a system of quality control which is designed to provide reasonable assurance that the firm and its personnel comply with professional standards and regulatory legal requirements. Ensure that the reports issued by the firm or engagement partners are appropriate in the circumstances. The key elements of SQC1 is leadership responsibilities for quality within the firm. So the tone at the top will lead to the culture of the quality. Ethical compliance with the ICS Code of Ethics, especially independence, integrity, and confidentiality. Acceptance and continuance of client relationship and engagement. Assess the risk before taking up with or continuing with the clients. Human resources. Educate personnel with competence, capabilities, and commitment to ethical principles. Engagement performance, that is planning, supervision, review, and consultation process. And then we have monitoring, which is ongoing evaluation of system. Ongoing evaluation of system of quality control includes internal reviews. Implement an IT policy and conduct regular audits to ensure compliance. Then ninth we have is data retention and disposal. Follow ICAI and legal guidelines for retention of the digital data. Securely delete or anonymize data whenever it's no longer required. monitor and incident management, keep audit logs of digital access and modifications, prepare and regularly test a data breach response plan. So this was about the uh, area that had to be covered. That is um, how to maintain the confidentiality of the digital data.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just a second, sir. It's not yet done.
Okay.
So, um, ICAI's ethical reference. According to ICAI's Code of Ethics, confidentiality, members must not disclose any confidential information without proper authority, use confidential data for personal or third party gain. This applies equally to digital formats and systems. So, why legal and professional boundaries matter? Because it maintains public trust, accountants serve the public interest and must be the above reproach. Ensure integrity and objectivity. Unethical or illegal actions compromise credibility. Avoid disciplinary actions. Breaches of boundaries may lead to ICS disciplinary actions under the Chartered Accountants Act 1949. Protect clients and stakeholders' information. Legal compliances ensures clients' data, finances, and interests are safeguarded. So here are some of the case studies of the breaches of ethical boundaries. So I've discussed 4 case studies over here. A CEO was engaged by 2 partners to assist with the dissolution of the firm. He failed to maintain the impartiality and favored one partner based on prior relationship. This compromised his objectivity and was flagged under Clause 1 of Part 1 of the second schedule, that is, the professional misconduct involving conflict of interest. Second is confidentiality breach. A member disclosed confidential financial data of one client to another client to gain business advantage. This violated the principle of confidentiality and was deemed as a serious breach even though no direct harm occurred. ICAI considers unauthorized disclosure a punishable offense under Clause 1, Part 1 of Second Schedule. Third is legal boundary. An auditor continued services despite holding a direct financial interest in the client company through a close family member. This created self-interest threat and violated independence requirement. The firm was required to withdraw from the audit engagement and was reprimanded by ICA. Misuse of professional discretion. A CA altered accounting policy selectively to influence reported profits in the favor of the client. This act, aimed at helping the client secure a loan, was ruled as an intentional misrepresentation and ethical manipulation, thus breaching professional behavior and competence standards. Now, coming on to the last points that had to be covered in the webinar. So these are the foundation principles of accountancy. Trust is earned and not demanded. In the profession of accountancy, trust is not granted by the position or designation. It is earned through consistent integrity, unbiased judgment, confidentiality, and transparency. Ethical conduct is not optional, it is the foundation upon which the public confidence rests. Confidentiality is non negotiable. A chartered accountant is trusted with sensitive, financial, and strategic information. This trust demands absolute discretion. Confidentiality is not a convenience, it is a commitment. No personal gain, pressure, or justification can override this ethical obligation. Now, let me explain you with the help of an illustration. CA Ravi is an internal auditor who discovers plans to report to underreport income. A board member, relative, offered incentives to conceal the findings. So, Mr. Ravi's ethical stand was that he declined the offer without confrontation. He documented his findings truthfully in the confidential report to the board's audit committee. He refrained from sharing information with any external party, maintaining confidentiality as required under the ICS Code of Ethics. When legal risk became evident, he advised the company to make voluntary disclosure to the income tax department. Outcome: the company made corrective filings, avoiding larger penalties, the board later acknowledged Ravi's integrity and professionalism, his firm on broader trust and secured long-term advisory roles. So the lesson learned over here is that upholding confidentiality while maintaining ethical integrity builds long-term trust and credibility even in difficult and high-stake situations. Now, this is something that I would like to tell you. Most of you would already know that the motto of ICI is Ya Ishu Sapteshi Jagriti. So, the meaning of this phrase in English is that a person who is awake in those that sleep. So, the philosophical significance is that it is derived from Isha Upanishad, one of the ancient Indian sculptures. The motto signifies that a chartered accountant's vigilance, awareness, and ethical responsibility, even when others may be indifferent or unaware. It reflects the role of CA as a guardian of financial truth, the one who upholds integrity, accountability, and trust in every situation. With this, I would like to conclude the topic of the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Asnaji. Now is the question is here. Is there ever a gray area in confidentiality? How would you handle it?
If there is a gray area in confidentiality, then first of all, we have to identify is there any conflict of interest? Then, if there is no conflict of interest, then you can move ahead. And in case there is a conflict of interest, then you have to identify the safeguards or you can decline the engagement. And in case there is a conflict of interest between confidentiality and disclosure, then you will always go with the confidentiality. And you would first take the approval of the client for sharing the information.
Okay, thanks. Now, what measures can a CA firm implement to ensure data confidentiality among staff and interns?
Very common examples could be that we can curb the pen drives that students or staff usually brings. We can disable the ports so that the information is not shared. Only the office mail addresses should be open on the system, and all other access to the internet should be disabled so that information is not leaked. And moreover, with the advent of WhatsApp and many other uh, help helping devices, we should try to limit their use, because somewhere or the other the information gets shared. So these are few simple steps that we can use to ensure the confidentiality of the client.
Okay, ma'am. You overhear a team member discussing sensitive audit findings in a public space. How should you act?
Could you, sir, repeat the question?
You overhear a team member discussing sensitive audit findings in a public space. How should we act?
First of all, I would conduct a meeting one to one with the team member that sharing of such information in a public space should be curbed. And then we should try to measure the impact, whether there were other people who also overheard this information, whether is there any chance that this information has been leaked. If yes, then we should conduct a meeting with those charged with governance or the board of meeting, and try to discuss that this confidential information might have been leaked.
Okay, ma'am. Why is intent is not enough when it comes to trust and confidentiality?
So could you repeat it?
Why is intent not enough when it comes to trust and confidentiality?
I believe intent is the foundation stone of trust and confidentiality. अगर आपके मन में इच्छा होगी ट्रस्ट डेवलप करने की, अपने क्लाइंट का डेटा कॉन्फिडेंशियल रखने की, तभी आप उसे रख पाओगे. अगर आपके मन में इच्छा ही नहीं है, इंटेंट ही नहीं है, तो आप उस पर्पस को कैसे फुलफिल कर पाओगे?
What are the personal and professional consequences of breaching confidentiality?
See,
What are the
प्रोफेशनल देर आर प्रोफेशनल कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस. सबसे पहले तो देर कुड बी ICAI डिसिप्लिनरी एक्शन. Secondly, there could be loss of reputation in the market, that very sensitive information has leaked from your office. So personally, that could hinder the trust that the client had installed in you. And professionally, also, if there is any breach of confidential information, then the ICAI can act on it. And in case if there is any breach of information unintentionally, then we should always report this to those charged with governance and also to ICAI. So that is the first line of action one should take.
So, sir, we can conclude the session. So,
Yes, sir.
concluding remarks from the moderator side, sir.
Thank you so much, CA Asna Kajlaji, for the insightful and power-packed session on upholding confidentiality and trust. You have truly shown us that beyond just crunching numbers, it how we communicate them that drives real decisions. To all our participants, thank you for your presence and enthusiastic engagement today. We hope this session will assist in a positive manner on said topic. Let's continue the spirit of learning as part of the Run at the Rate 100 webinar series. The take every opportunity to grow the as future ready CA professionals. Until next time, take care and keep learning. Thank you. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you to the faculty and moderator for the session. We also thank you to all dear students for their active participation in the session. We also thank to our chairman and vice chairman, sir, for taking this initiative. Students are requested to please join the run series every Tuesday and Friday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. to learn and grow. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. We can leave the meeting.